Jason had always been afraid of the space beneath his bed. Even as an adult, he avoided letting his feet dangle over the edge for too long. It was a childhood fear he never quite outgrew. When he moved into his new apartment, he promised himself that he would leave such irrational fears behind. But the first night in his new place brought them all rushing back. As he lay in bed, trying to fall asleep, he heard it, a faint scratching sound coming from underneath him. He froze, listening. Maybe it was just the old wooden floors settling. Maybe a mouse had found its way in. He convinced himself it was nothing and forced his eyes shut. The next night, the scratching returned, but this time, there was something else, a whisper. It was so soft, like the voice of a child calling from beneath him. Jason, Jason, are you awake? His blood ran cold. He wanted to believe it was a trick of his imagination, but he couldn't ignore the way the voice seemed to slither into his ears. He stayed perfectly still, holding his breath, until morning. The following night, Jason placed his phone under the bed, recording while he slept. The next morning, he hesitated before playing it back. At first, there was nothing but the sound of his own breathing. Then came the scratching, slow and deliberate. And then, the voice. Why won't you look at me, Jason? His stomach twisted into knots. He hadn't told anyone about the voice. No one could be playing a joke on him. That night, he decided to face his fear. He crouched beside his bed, flashlight in hand, and took a deep breath before peering underneath. At first, there was only darkness. Then his light caught something. Two pale, bony hands gripping the wooden slats of his bed frame. A face, impossibly thin with hollow black eyes, stared back at him. It grinned, revealing jagged, broken teeth. Jason scrambled backward, his heart hammering in his chest. The thing under his bed did not move. It just kept watching, its smile growing wider. He ran out of his apartment that night and never returned. Days later, the landlord let himself in to check on the abandoned unit. The bed was untouched. Everything was just as Jason had left it, except for the deep scratches on the wooden floor beneath the bed, and the single word carved into the frame, "Stay." Jason never spoke of what he saw that night, but he never stayed anywhere with an uncovered bed again. He always made sure his bed frame touched the floor, leaving no space beneath. But sometimes, in the dead of night, he still hears it. The soft scratching, the faint whisper, and deep down, he knows, it is still waiting for him. Years passed, and Jason did his best to forget. He moved to a new city, changed his routine, filled his days with work. But no matter how much he distracted himself, he could never shake the feeling that something was still watching him. One night, exhausted from a long day, Jason collapsed onto his couch and drifted into an uneasy sleep. In the middle of the night, he woke up to a sound he hadn't heard in years. Scratching, not from under his bed this time, but from the couch beneath him. He shot up, heart pounding, and grabbed his phone. Trembling, he turned on the flashlight and crouched down to look. The space under the couch was empty. Relieved, he laughed nervously and ran a hand through his hair. "I'm losing my mind," he muttered. But as he turned off the flashlight, a whisper brushed against his ear. "Found you." The next morning, Jason's apartment was empty. The door was locked from the inside. His phone was still on the coffee table. The only thing out of place was a message, scratched into the wooden floor beneath the couch. "No more hiding.